Under fair use policy, I'm going to be reviewing portions of the interview that the Isaiah Factor on Fox 26 did with Auston Holleman. I'm not going to use very much of the video because obviously YouTube is very, very quick to censor any video, especially if it uses how should I say, the content of Fox, MSNBC, or CNN. But, you know me, I can talk for hours about something, so I don't really need that much of it to go. But I just wanted to point out a couple of little things about it. And overall, I thought the interview was fair, and I'm actually glad that they did interview Auston Holleman. I'm very glad they did. Passport Bros are basically mainstream now. In fact, I noticed World Star Hip Hop was talking about this interview specifically earlier today. What was interesting to me about it was they put Kevin Samuels' face on it. Like they put his face in the, how should I say, the Photoshop that they made. So the reality is they're still attributing everything that's going on with Kevin Samuels, which is one of the reasons why I still consider Kevin Samuels is still, some people call him the Godfather. As far as I'm concerned, he's still the king of the freaking manosphere, and the man's dead. His channel, by the way, not to, prolong this, but his channel has continued to grow and grow and grow and grow, and the man is dead. Like, it could literally go to 2 million subscribers. It's very possible his channel might get to 2 million subscribers before Queen Just Pearly Things gets to 2 million. But basically, Kevin Samuels and Just Pearly Things are right now the head of the Black Manosphere, which I just find just absolutely amazing. So anyway, let's get into this little interview here.
Welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. As we mentioned last night, the controversial community of Passport Bros continues to grow.
And yes, absolutely. I'm going to fast forward it for fair use purposes. But yeah, the Passport Bro community is going to continue to grow. In fact, it's funny, when I first came into the manosphere and I was talking about these passport bro things that I was doing myself, because they were calling me all types of names and everything. They were calling me Trick, and they were calling me, as I told you, the new word is, they were saying that you're a Trick and you're a cleanup bro, international cleanup bro. And then they were trying to say, we don't want to go overseas because you might be considered a transport bro. That's the new term. We call them transport bros if they are illegally transporting. But we're not getting into that. So all I'm saying is passport bros are going to continue to grow. See, the thing about it is, no matter how you slice it, we have freedom of movement. There are a lot of us who work overseas. There are a lot of expatriates. There are a lot of retirees who are going to other countries. They can't stop us from doing any of this stuff. That's the reality. See, the funny thing is, no matter how much outrage they try to generate, no matter how many times they call you a transport bro, no matter how many times they try to call you a predator, which means that I've got to make up a new word for predator so that I can replace the word predator. I'm going to think of something. But no matter how much outrage they throw, the bottom line is it's totally legal for us to travel and for us to seek wives overseas. And as I pointed out in the last video, Abraham sent out someone to travel to look for a wife for his Isaac. So listen, this is biblical. They can't stop us. They have no power. They have no power at all. But you know what I think? I think the damn shame about it is white men have been doing this forever. And what I find is really interesting, if a black man does this, they would call him a trick. But if a white man does it, there's no term for him. There's no word. Why is there no word for him? Now, yeah, you could try to throw the word trick at him, but he'll just laugh it off. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. You can call him a trick all you want. You can call him a trick 24/7. He doesn't care. If a black man goes overseas, Hillary Clinton's calling you a super predator. White man does it. Well, is there even a term? I don't know. But you know what? That's just what we live with. But you know what? It's time for us to shake off. We're going to shake off these name calling. We're going to shake off this third grade name call. We don't care what they think. Who cares? Call me a poo-poo face. Call me a potty head. Who gives a damn what you think? Nobody cares. So anyway,
around the country. There's a private Facebook group with more than 10,000 members.
Now, I'm part of two of the Facebook groups. One of them is Enlightened Western Men, and the other one is Passport Bros.
Now, the group is known for a bit more than just traveling. Some guys make it their mission to fly around the world, meet more submissive women.
Yeah, see, my thing is, me personally, I'm not interested in flying around the world. There's certain parts of the world I just don't give a damn about. Most of them are in Europe. The only parts of the world I really like is actually Southeast Asia. I wanted to go to Argentina and I wanted to cross over to Montevideo, Uruguay, right? But recently, and especially thanks to COVID, but recently, the violence down there in South America has been escalating. They tried to literally blow the vice president's head off. And the vice president's a female. They got it on video. You could look it up. They tried to assassinate this woman. And it reminded me so much of like Benazir Bhutto when they blew her up in that crowd. And I was like, man, if things are that crazy down there, that people are that insane and desperate, it's like, nah, man, I don't need to go down there right now. I could wait and maybe go down there. I could go down there later. Because, of all of the flights I've ever taken, I'm used to sitting on a plane for like 15, 16 hours flying to Asia, right? South America's close. Like I can go just about anywhere in South America for like 7 hours on a flight. And that, to me, that's nothing. 7 hours is nothing. I'm used to flying to Dubai. That's 12 and a half right there. And my body's actually used to the Dubai flight, especially since I'm sitting in business class and I'm half drunk most of the time. But my thing is, it's like, I'm not going down to South America. Now, this Auston Holleman situation with Brazil, that doesn't scare me. What scares me is all of the violent videos I used to watch on bestgore.com before the site went down that came out of Brazil. That place was so crazy. It's like, I was like, nah. I don't want to go down there, especially if I can't take my pieces. It's like, I don't want to go down someplace and be unarmed and have to deal with those corrupt police and stuff like that. It's like, nah. And it's not even the Auston Holleman situation that worried me. It's all the stuff that I saw that gave me PTSD that I was watching on my phone from a long time ago. So it's like, Brazil, they can keep Brazil. I don't want to see it. I of all the places in the world, that's the one place I don't need to go to. There are other places, Iraq, Afghanistan, Colombia. I know there's a lot of black men going down there, but right now I'm just not anxious. So that's just how I feel about it.
And have sex. They are facing a lot of criticism too. Now that's from those who critique them.
And then the question you should ask is who's critiquing these black men who are doing what they want to do with their bodies and their passports. You know, it's so funny. These women are challenging the Supreme Court, my body, my choice. Well, guess what? I'm a black male. I've got a black body. Isn't my body my choice? Is my choice that I can fly to another country? And the thing about it that I think is most important is what they've tried to do is they've tried to obfuscate this argument by talking up prostitution. First of all, prostitution's legal in Brazil. That's number one. Now, me personally, I've never, and I can honestly say this, I've never solicited prostitution. I've never dealt with prostitutes, number one, because I don't like the idea of getting chlamydia, HIV, herpes, or anything else, for one. And number two, first of all, it's really the diseases. It's like the mere fact that you kiss somebody, you got herpes on your lips. Nah, that's okay. I'm not interested. And that's just it. Now, the second thing I would say is that it's easier to just meet a career woman when you go to these countries. Because, see, these American strags, they want to pretend like all of these women in these countries are poor. These women in these other countries, they work. They got careers. They work in offices just like you do. But here's the problem. These strags don't travel. When they travel, they just go to like Africa, Caribbean, or they go to some part of Greece so that they can sit on a beach with their other heavy set women, the body positive Lizzos that come with them. And the reality is they don't really, really, really travel. And they damn sure aren't going to go to a country where the women are impoverished. They want to go someplace where they can dominate over the men and they can have more money than the men. That's where they want to go. They don't want to see how the women live in these other countries. They don't want to go to those places. But the interesting thing to me is nobody calls these women out on it. Nobody, and I have to say, in this interview, Auston Holleman called them out on it. He called them out on it. He says, "Yeah, well, the women do the same thing. They've been doing it since Stella got a groove back." But anyway, let's see this.
Our next guest, Auston Holleman, said he had to end a trip in Brazil early after he was accused of being one of those guys who said Brazilian women are easy to get. We talk.
Okay, yeah, so that right there, and if you're wondering why I have to talk so much, it's because this is a fair use. I really hate the way they deal with this. It's like it's a fair use problem, and I don't want them to try to flag my video. And that's the reason why I made this video separate, because I actually made a different video that I was going to put this video in, but I decided not to do that because this way, if they copyrighted one or if they flagged one, it's like I wouldn't lose both videos. It's like I could just redo this one and retool it. So it's easier if I just talk a lot. So this way they can't, but I'm critiquing the news. That's what I'm doing. It's fair use.
To him today.
I
Auston,
hate
what
having to
kind
say
of
fair
damn
use.
trouble did you get yourself into with these Brazilian women?
Well, actually, I wasn't trying to start any trouble. I actually thought I was doing a lot of promoting.
Okay, and you see again, in Brazil, number one, prostitution is legal, but what's not legal is like pimping or organized sex work. So it seems to me that what this, I hate to call her a female, I'd rather just call her a rainbow flag carrying trash bag. Because as far as I'm concerned, and it's funny, I did a live last night and somebody tried to criticize me because I allowed a non-black person to talk on these women who were criticizing Auston. And the first thing I pointed out is, like, number one, they've already told us that they're not, quote unquote, our women. And number two, especially when I think of this one that's in Brazil who was making death wishes, or some people think it's death threats, but it was actually death wishes. I've got no respect for her at all. I have 0% respect for her. None. You could say whatever you want about her on my channel or my comment sections. I have no respect for her. So if you're hearing my voice and you're the person who criticized me about that, well, I want you to know I'm going to let these dudes ride like it's Megan Hall and there's a choo-choo train. They can ride all over. I can care less.
But apparently some things were lost. Some things were purposely lost in translation.
And they always are, especially when you're dealing with these corporate news entities with an agenda. Not just Fox, MSNBC, or CNN, but the local ones that were there in Brazil who obviously had an agenda. Now, in my opinion, and this is actually something that they say all media and all advertisement is good media and advertisement. The passport bros have gone mainstream. Auston Holleman, just as I always imagined, and I've said this before, he's basically the face that they've put on it. It's like in my opinion, he's like a better face because he's young. He's saying everything that the old dudes are saying. But the difference is the women can't criticize him easily. They can't. They can't say he's bald. They can't say he's fat. They can't say he's out of shape. They can't say he's poor, even though, he's making a lot of his money through donations, and he's a barber and everything. But they can't make fun of his hair. They can't make fun of his hairline. And all of the usual criticisms that these women would throw at just about anybody who's considers himself a passport bro, all of those criticisms fall flat. There's nothing they can say. The most that they can do is say, oh, well, you're just young and you're inexperienced. Well, if you want to attack his age, he could always come back at you and be like, yeah, well, you're post-war and you're over 40 and your milk and your eggs are ready to be tossed out into yesterday's trash. So, there's not really, there's nowhere to go.
Purpose. And that it's led to death threats, and I was already on my way to Thailand anyway. I was going to be in Sao Paulo for about a week. But based off the way how things were going, I just said, you know what, I probably ought to head out 3 or 4 days earlier.
Okay, so that right there is the setup. You've probably already watched this video in full, so I'm just going to fast forward it to where he asks some of the questions that, most of the questions seem to be fair to me. What was this? Because he was, he's talking about how he was talking. He's talking about how he was, he's walking in Brazil and this, that, and other. And I guess let's see what he
That
said.
purpose, traveling to meet new women and enjoy a different culture and a better lifestyle. Those
But
are the
really
three
quick, for
reasons.
those who may say this is just a form of prostitution, you're going to different countries to pay and to have sex with women.
Which is basically what they're trying to. But see, they're trying to paint this as just sex tourism and prostitution. Here's the problem, ladies. In Brazil, prostitution's legal. Brazil wants sex tourism. And I've said this a billion times. The health of the state is live births. The Brazilian government has no problem with this. And when the white Europeans were doing it, the Brazilian government said nothing at all. And I just want to ask, do you really think that the gears of the Brazilian government are suddenly going to start turning and that they're going to put all of their resources and efforts into stopping one black young male after years and years of sexual exploitation from Europe? Guys, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. They're not coming after, the Brazilian government is not coming after Auston Holleman. He didn't do anything wrong. Y'all want to make it seem like he did something wrong. People like his dreaded arch nemesis, Peso Man. Y'all want to make it seem like y'all want to make it seem like he's doing the most. The reality is he did nothing wrong. He said something that somebody took offense to, but he didn't do anything wrong. That's what's so funny about it.
You're not truly having a relationship with them.
That's not my reality because I moved there. So, if I'm not going back and forth. So if anybody's going to have a relationship, it would have been me. Now,
Okay, so he's talking about the relationship aspect. Now, what's this right here? What's this?
here to say that's the majority. There are men that go down there just to sleep with women women do the same thing too. Women do sex tourism too.
Thank you. Thank you, Auston Holleman. The next time I do talk to you on a live chat, I will absolutely make sure that I thank you in person by voice. Governor Jesse Ventura said something, and first of all, I loved listening to Jesse Ventura speak. Everything that man said, I could listen to that shit for hours. One of the things that he said that always stuck with me, as a Navy SEAL, there was always the possibility that you could get captured and then you're going to get tortured and they're going to try to get information out of you. One of the things Jesse Ventura said that stuck with me is something that the Republicans mostly live by. He said, you never admit anything, you never confess anything, and you always make counter accusations. So here's the thing. Yeah, sex tourism is a reality, so you can't pretend that doesn't happen. Now, as far as I know, he himself, I personally have never heard him say that he was partaking in that. I've never heard it. Now, some people claim that he did on my live, but I never personally heard it, so I can only speak for myself. Here's the thing, though. He turned the narrative around beautifully by saying, yeah, well, these women are going there and doing the exact same thing. People, and this is one of the things that worried me about what would happen if the mainstream came for Passport Bros, because I had gotten on a couple of channels and I had mentioned this before. I said, because of how much energy that this was getting on TikTok and typically social medias like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, I knew that sooner or later the media was going to get involved. The question I had was, who were they going to initially interview about Passport Bros? And it could be anybody. Originally, I thought it was going to be Dennis Sperling, originally. And I think I may have mentioned that in a video a while back. Originally, I thought it was going to be Dennis Sperling. Fortunately, it wasn't. And when this story was in Travel Noir on Yahoo, notice that the story was basically about the perspective of black women who were angry at the Passport Bros. They didn't, now there's numerous ways you could cover a story. You could say, well, why are black men doing this? Let's talk to a black man and find out. What did they do? What did they do on Fox? They said, Why are black men doing this? Let's talk to two black women about it. You know what that's like? That's like me going on TLC for 600-pound wives. What is that show with the women? They all weigh 600 pounds, and bringing on who's a hot chick? Oh, Jennifer Lawrence. And I'll say Jennifer Lawrence. Imagine I bring on Jennifer Lawrence and say, yeah, I want to do an interview with Jennifer Lawrence about 600-pound women. And then to add insult to injury, I get Just Pearly Things. And I say, yeah, I want Jennifer Lawrence and Just Pearly Things. We're going to sit down and have an interview about 600-pound women. Well, here's the problem. These women know nothing about being 600 pounds. These women are less than 200, I know. And I'm like, what kind of ridiculous is that? It's just stupid. It's like, why are you bringing on people who know nothing about the situation? If you're going to bring on somebody, she should be a woman who weighs like 650 or 600 or 625 or something like that. But why would I be interviewing somebody who doesn't know anything about it? Or get a doctor, a medical professional, get an expert. Who did they get? They get two women. One of them is called the communications degree. I still don't know what that means because it's a useless liberal arts degree as far as I'm concerned. And then the other one, I have no idea what the other one's supposed to be doing. I think maybe she was a journalist. I honestly don't know. But again, you brought on two women and it's like they know nothing about the subject. You know what they call that? In arguments and debate, they call that a straw man. They say what you've done is you've set somebody up who has such poor control over this argument that they absolutely have no possibility of presenting a decent debate. So anyway, that's just what it is.
But there are men that are enjoying the difference of the culture and programming of women in a different country.
When it comes to culture, and this is something that I think is really annoying. Why is it that a black man gets policed about the culture he's intaking? I'll say it like this. When I was in the Philippines and I was with my Filipino girlfriend, I did go to one of the museums because at that day I just didn't think of anything else to do. So I went to the museum with her, and they had a museum in Manila near the bay. I don't remember the exact name of it, but I know I took a little bit of video because it was a it was a really big museum. It was nice to walk around in. They had a lot of nice pieces of Filipino art. They also, not far away, which was more interesting to me because I'm a pilot, but they had a museum from, I guess it was the recent wars, and they brought some warplanes there. And those warplanes of the Philippines or the Filipino Air Force, they had them in a little park. And I wanted to see that. I took some pictures. I put some pictures on Google Maps and this, that, and other. I took some video. I was like, yeah, this is cool. So when you're talking about culture, technically that's exactly what you're talking about. You're like, yeah, I went to their museums. I went to their exhibits. When I go to countries like Dubai, I go to the top of the buildings. Like I went to the top of the Burj Khalifa. It was like $130. I have that on video just in case anybody wants to see it. If you look through my videos, just type The Real Dubai and then my name, Big Truck Serious Review. You'll see it. I also did a video car shopping in Dubai. But my point is, I was doing all this non-sex stuff. But even if I wasn't, why are people policing me? Why are there so many dick detectives? Why are there so many penis police? Why are there so many armchair quarterbackers talking about what I should have done? It's like, who do these people think they are? Do they think that I'm a slave on a plantation? Let me tell you something. If I wanted to, I'm not saying I want to. If I wanted to, I could pull out my credit card right now. I could fly down to Brazil and I could bang out prostitutes left and right legally. Am I going to do that? No, I don't want to do that. I would never do that because it's just something I wouldn't do. Bottom line is, who the fuck are you to tell me what I can and can't do? Huh? See, that's the part that gets me. Because, see, I'm a strict constitutionalist, just like Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, just like Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall. It's like, who are you to tell me anything? That First Amendment, first of all, I got the First Amendment. I'll say whatever the goddamn fuck I want, even if I got to string together curse words in a way you don't like it, because I feel like it, because I felt like it. Number two, I got the Second Amendment to make sure I can protect my first, if you know what I'm talking about. So I just trying to figure this out. Like, who are these people who are trying to tell me as a black man with money, I got fucking money. Who are you to tell me what I can and can't do? I feel righteous indignation from that. That's my real issue. The righteous indignation that I feel. Who the fuck are you to tell me where I can and can't go? No, you want to talk to somebody, talk to this Desert Eagle. Okay, let's keep going.
Do you think this gives the movement a bad name, the Passport Bros?
Well, first of all, brother Isaiah, Passport Bros, as far as these strags are concerned, we have a horrible name. As far as they're concerned, we're a bunch of divestors. We're not giving them our resources to spend. They can't get their hair did. They can't get their raptor claws painted. They can't get their toenails did. They can't buy a wig for $450. The Federal Reserve has been raising interest rates. They can't even pull out their credit card and buy stuff haphazardly no more. The debt limit has been reached, almost $32 trillion. The debt limit's been reached. That means some of these welfare programs may disappear. That means that all this money that we're sending over to Ukraine, that might end. They worried. They all worried. The whole welfare state. Do you know how long I've been waiting for this? There's a law called entropy. Entropy means that no matter what organized system you have, it's going to eventually tear itself down. It's just part of the laws of thermodynamics. The heat is leaving the building. The heat is leaving the system. I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this ever since I heard David Walker talking to Glenn Beck about the national debt ultimately disabling the welfare state in a way that they wouldn't be able to change it or fix it. I've been waiting for this. I've been squirreling away my money. I've been squirreling away my real estate holdings, making sure that I was prepared for it. And at this point, all I got to do is pull up a chair and just watch it on television now. I've been waiting for this. So the bottom line is they're mad at us because they've been competing with us so long that now they can't compete with us anymore. See, the thing about it is, if you want to compete, if you're a woman, you want to compete with a man, oh, you have every right to. This is a capitalist society. But here's the problem, though. Ultimately, I'm going to outwork you. I'm doing the difficult, dangerous, and dirty jobs. I'm going to get paid more, and I'm going to work harder, and I'm going to work longer until I drop dead. But when I do, I'll have more than you do. I'm not trying to compete with you, but you're trying to compete with me. So if you're trying to compete with me, well, guess what? While I'm making the payments on my properties and the house above my, I'm looking at my ceiling fan right now. I got a roof above my head. While I'm making my payments, here's a question. Are you getting evicted tonight? Are you getting foreclosed? Because I'm not. You can't compete with me. Because at the end of the day, you spend more money just existing than I do. And that's just the fact. You don't know what I'm talking about, but y'all afraid to say it. See, I ain't afraid to say it. I got that First Amendment, yo.
It's a bad name if your sole purpose is for sex tourism and prostitution.
Yes, and on my YouTube channel, I actually tell dudes not to go down there.
Thank you. Thank you. As far as I'm concerned, this is I mean, listen, we know it's legal in certain countries, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a bad idea. It's just a bad idea. I would never participate in this because I'd always, in the back of my mind, I would always think, you know what? The day I would do it is the day that the police are going to knock down the door like they're searching for Andrew Tate and they going to get me. It's like, no, I'm not doing. I'll tell you this. I went to Denver, Colorado one time. And I think I did a video about that too. I went to Denver, Colorado. I think I named the video The Real Denver or something. And this was back before marijuana. I think this was like 2015. This was before marijuana became legal recreational, right? Now, when I was there, okay, I already knew that there's no way you can carry marijuana back on the planes, and I know you can't transport it. And I went to this marijuana shop and I bought T-shirts for some of my family members, basically to say, yeah, I went to this marijuana shop where it's legal. And I took pictures because back then, they couldn't fathom that it would be legal to buy marijuana. Like they couldn't imagine what that was like. So I took pictures of the signs, the laws surrounding it. And I bought some T-shirts back home, right? One of the things I did was when I bought this stuff, I went back to the hotel and there was this odd feeling that I had that the police were going to bust me for something. And it was so weird because it's like when you do something, even if it's legal, but you've come from a place where it's illegal, there's this feeling that you probably are going to have where you believe that you've done something wrong, even though you haven't. You know what I'm trying to say? I just had this overarching feeling that when I went back to my hotel room that the police were going to bust down the doors and come get me for some reason. And it was weird because like just being around all those drugs, legal drugs, just being around all of that stuff, it just did something to me. It was like, yo, man, am I supposed to be here? I was like, I'm not supposed to be. But that's the fear that they've built up in me over, what is it, all these years of living here in New York. The fear is if you're anywhere near this stuff, that the cops are coming. That's the fear that they've set up. That Giuliani called it omnipresence. He wanted Rudolph Giuliani, when he was mayor, he wanted you to believe that the police were everywhere. They called it omnipresence. That's part of the reason why they were able to bring down the crime so much, because they had cops everywhere busting you for everything, right? But again, to go back to the subject, prostitution, even though I wouldn't do it, even though it's legal in many places like Holland and Brazil and stuff, it's like I wouldn't do it simply because I'd be worried that that would be the day the cops knock down my door and come in like they looking for Andrew Tate. And you saw what they did. They went in there like they were looking for bin Laden. It's like, nah, man, I don't need that on my record. I don't need it. I don't need, oh, local businessman works on Wall Street, busted for legal process. And it's like, nah, I don't need none of that shit. It's like, that's part of the reason why I wouldn't even bother showing my face. It's like, I don't want none of my partners finding out like I do all this crazy ass YouTube shit. And I damn sure would. They were like, Big Truck. Your name. Oh, so you go by the name Big Truck, huh? I hear you like you're a trick. It's like, nah, no. They call me Big Trick. It's like, nah, no, nope, no, thank you.
To deal with prostitutes, because you cannot complain about American women.
They keep showing this picture of this bleach blonde, white skinned chick. I don't think she's that great. It's like, is there a way we can replace her with just pearly things? Because she's the queen. Anyway, I'm just joking. I mean it, actually, but...
And then just go pay for some experience that she's getting paid. She's not, I'm not going to say it's not genuine, but I'm going to assume it's not genuine because if you didn't have the money, I don't think she'd treat you like that.
You're absolutely right.
All right, let's see if there's another question here. Let's see if there's another question to respond to.
Your food then. But I want a woman that cooks. And the thing is
it so much to ask for a woman that cooks? It's like, let me tell you something. If I ever married a Spanish or Latina, all she'd have to do is be able to make those beef empanadas, and she'd have to be able to make that pernil, that Dominican pernil, and she'd have to make some good white rice, and she'd have to know how to make oxtail the way that they make it in the Dominican restaurant. And she'd have to know how to make that pernil, that chicharron. All she'd have to do is know like maybe 10 or 20 Dominican dishes. And because I'm thinking about like even my uncle's Dominican wife. And to tell you the truth, my uncle's Dominican wife, she can cook. Like she makes some good beans and stuff. But her food don't taste like what I'm thinking of. Like the Dominican restaurant I go to, those Dominican women, they could blow your goddamn stomach away. And they come and they got used to me because I kept coming in there for certain things that they were selling. And I'm like, damn. It's like if I ever married one of these women, as long as she could cook like this, we got no problems. But is that so much to ask? But these American women, they don't grow up with fathers in the home. They don't grow up with a mother and a father in the home. So they never really see a woman cooking for a man. And there's a lot of agenda in this country that likes that. They want to keep it that way. They want to destroy the nuclear family. They're doing a great job of it, by the way. And that's the reason why these passport bros are passport broing. And that's just what it comes down to.
A lot of people don't understand down here, but as an American, 50 grand a year puts you in the top 1% of the world.
Okay, that's exactly right. If you're an American, and see, this is another thing. These strags continue to, oh, you dusty, you ain't got no money. Well, the reality is, it's like if you have enough money to be able to travel, chances are you're making somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 a year. Because anybody who makes less than that, they're not focused on traveling for the most part. Not unless they are of a different nationality already and they're planning on going home to look for a wife. Because that's usually what happens. See, this, I want you to think about it. As a black man, you're getting criticized for going overseas to find a wife. Now, if you were an Arab man here in New York, if you were a Hindu man here in New York, if you were a Hispanic man here in New York, nobody would be criticizing you if you went back to India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. Nobody would be criticizing you. So why should a black man get criticized? Because he decides he's going to leave and he's going to find something. Can somebody explain that? I don't know.
So as an American, you go somewhere to another country, you have enough excess income to eat out 3 times a day in Brazil.
Yeah, and that's here's the thing. Let me say this about, because that if you when I was in Thailand, I was with my Filipino girlfriend, right? We had a nice stay in a hotel. It was called Soy Saladong. And very nice hotel, had a pool. It was right in like the heart of Bangkok. There was a kitchenette in the place. It was a very nice hotel room. I'm pretty sure I made a video about that, in fact. So it's in my videos. You'll see it in my videos if you bother to look. But anyway, if you have a girlfriend who can cook and you have a girlfriend who knows how to do preparation of fruits and vegetables, you're eating healthy like every single day. Like every day you're eating healthy because she's there chopping up all that vegetable, chopping up all that fruit. And she's making shit that you don't even know how to make because you're not used to really seeing people cook that fresh regularly. Like, it's like almost like watching one of those cooking channels. And the crazy thing is, the women overseas know how to cook. So what it was I liked going out to eat. I would go out to eat with her and I would pay about maybe $5 for the both of us if you translate the money. And I'm pretty sure the exchange rate's better now because COVID decimated those countries. Like COVID, the Filipino peso was like 50 pesos to $1, I believe. And right now it's like 56 to 1. Like the COVID decimated these people. Like I think it went up to like 58 to 1 at one point. And I think it came down a little bit when we were having those oil fluctuations and we were having those problems between Russia and Ukraine. As far as the Thai baht, I believe, they were having economic problems because they relied so heavily on tourism. My point being, the street food was fantastic. The street food was so good, I didn't even like going to the restaurants. It was like I was able to pay for both of us to eat, and we could eat out like 3 times a day. But as a Filipina, that wasn't her norm. Her norm was like making fresh food. So we'd go to the grocery store, she'd get stuff and she'd bring it back, she'd chop it up, she'd make stuff on the kitchenette. And I was like, oh, and that's the thing. When you have a woman who knows how to cook and who knows how to do all that fresh prep and everything, you save a lot of money. I dated a Korean girl when I was in South Korea. Now, this is a while ago. But anyway, she would take fresh fruit with her every day to work, and that's all she would eat. She would eat like she would eat fresh chopped fruits. Like she'd be, you know how we have those fruit salads where it's like square cuts of fruit. She would chop that stuff up and she'd make that like every single day. That was her lunch. That was her lunch. And when she'd eat that stuff and she'd make it for me and everything, the hardest part for me was getting out of the American mindset of, yeah, I have to eat more, you know? But that's the reason why those Asian people are so much healthier than we are. I mean, what's their cancer rate compared to ours, you know? But, that's just what it is.
Or Thailand or Colombia, you can eat out 3 times a day. So whoever my wife is, she's not even gonna be cooking anyway.
Well, you see, that is really not very realistic. It's actually more likely that she will be cooking more than twice. She'll probably be cooking like twice a day. You'll probably eat out once. You probably make breakfast, probably make dinner. And it's really better that she does because this way you stay away from a lot of the processed stuff. But then again, when you're in Asia, because see, that's the whole thing about Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Philippines, those places are like farms for the most part. The people are very agrarian, even though they do have metropolitan cities. The reality is, fruit and vegetable, the freshness of that stuff is built into their culture. And everything they eat, it's like when you're on the street in Thailand, they're making shakes everywhere. They're making dragon fruit shakes. They're making, maracaya shakes. They're making rambutan. They're making dragon eyes, yanjing. So it's like, it's actually in their culture that they're going to cook. And I've got no problem with that. Like eating out is cool, but after a while that gets boring. She cooked, and I was cooking for them too. I was cooking for my girlfriend and her friends. Like every now and then, like I'd go to the grocery. I'd be like, okay, let's have something different. And I'd go to the grocery and I would shop for stuff like, you know what they liked that I knew how to make? Penne alla vodka. Penne alla vodka. They loved it when I made penne alla vodka. And my version of spaghetti was way better than the Filipino version of spaghetti. Now, if you know anything about Filipinos, you know they eat spaghetti all the time. They eat pancit noodles all the time. They love noodles. They love spaghetti. I wasn't a fan of Filipino spaghetti sauce because I felt it was a little too thin. And their idea of spaghetti was like freaking spaghetti sauce with Frank's chopped up in it. And I was like, to me, this is some second grade shit right here. So what I did was I'd go to the grocery store, I'd get ground beef, and then I showed them how to cook the ground beef in order to make it for spaghetti specifically. But that was something they just didn't really do. But when they had my spaghetti, when they had my penne alla vodka, not only was my Filipino girlfriend very impressed with me, but her girlfriends, they were ready to throw it at me, if you know what I'm saying. Because when a man knows how to cook like that, these women, they're ready to throw it at you. See, that's the scary thing. That's the reason why polygyny works. But we're not getting into that right now. We're not getting into that.
When I was in the States, I cooked for myself, but I have my money multiplied 5 times when I got to Brazil. So why would I stand in the kitchen and cook when I can just go downstairs and eat and somebody make it for me?
Exactly. Now, Isaiah is not, it's funny, Isaiah is not as enthusiastic about this interview as he was when he had those 2 know-nothing women on who couldn't tell him anything about anything. But for the most part, Isaiah handled this interview pretty well. Like, he didn't throw any, like, hateful or rhetorical questions. He didn't really do any of that. So I like this interview. I appreciate the fact that Fox 26 did absolutely get Auston to do this interview. Now, the question you have to ask yourself, if you are a passport bro, because you got to remember, there's a lot of other passport bros, and there's a lot of passport bros who are constantly plucking the nerves of these people on TikTok and plucking their nerves on Facebook, right? I would actually assume that I'm one of them. It's just that a lot of them really don't bother with me. They come watch my videos. They leave some comments, as you've seen, that I've done replies to. But for the most part, they don't come after me because they can't see my face. They go after Auston Holleman because they can see his face. That's the difference. That's the real difference. They've put his face on it. They can't put my face on it. So the bottom line is, if you're a passport bro, what do you do if somebody tries to interview you? What do you say if a news media organization tries to interview you? The bottom line, and Austin did it pretty well, but the bottom line is, when they start throwing out these allegations about sex tourism, you have to understand that what they're doing is they're using rumor, conjecture, and lies. Now, chances are they're going to use conjecture, and they're going to try to drill you about sex tourism. Now, in my case, I can honestly say, well, I've never partaken in it, and that's it. But they're going to keep on going. They're going to keep trying to squeeze something out of you to make it a juicy story. Now, you have to resist the urge to talk about what goes on. Like, for example, if you ask me about sex tourism in China, I could tell you all about it, but I didn't do any of it. But I could tell you what I saw. I could tell you where it is, which was basically damn near everywhere. It was all the barbershops were brothels, the coffee shops, cafes, most of those were brothels. And it was like, I could tell you about it, but I never did any of it. You have to resist the urge to interject yourself. You have to say, listen, this is something that goes down, but, if you're not involved in it, then you'd be like, listen, I'm not involved in it. That's it. Now, especially if you're in a country where it's legal and stuff. It's just like when you go to countries where drugs are legal. It's like some people are going to tell everything and tell all, and some people aren't. So my thing is, it's like in order to protect the validity of the movement, which is what we're talking about, in order to protect the validity of the movement, you got to think about what you're going to say. Now, Austin did a great job in the interview, just like Jesse Ventura said. Never admit anything, always make counter accusations. If somebody, it's just like these dudes on YouTube. These dudes are the biggest dick police. These dudes are the biggest dick detectives. These dudes are the biggest armchair quarterbackers I've ever seen. My thing is, you have to know how to talk to them. It's like, if you don't feel that what they're saying fits your reality and they're trying to make a narrative that you don't agree with, then you have to speak up about it. You got to do it quick and early, and you can't give them any room to wiggle, because these dudes will wiggle. And that's the reality. So the movement is going to grow regardless. It's important to us as passport bros that we put as best a face on it as possible. Yeah, there's going to be some pookies. Yeah, there's going to be some ray-rays. Yeah, there's going to be some nefarious deeds. Because the problem is, it's just like with Expat Kings and then that other dude, the German Pookie. I call him Pookie, even though it's Poogie in German, Pogie, whatever the hell, but I call him Pookie. But anyway, there's always going to be some nefarious plays. It's important to screen them out as quickly as possible. Never hang out with them. When you go overseas, if you know that you got somebody who's down and dirty into shit that you don't want to be down and dirty in, you get away from them. And that's the bottom line. You got to stay away from them. And that'll make things safer for you. And that'll make things safer for the movement. Because you got to remember, the white men have been doing this forever. And I'm not begrudging them. They set up the blueprint for us. And we're following the blueprint. In sociology, there's a saying that the closer the minority group gets to being the majority, the more the minority group will mimic that majority in its behaviors, socioeconomic status, and whatnot. Now, there's only like 42 million blacks out of like 330 million people. But the point of the sociological concept is, as you move towards the majority, not when you get to be right there at the doorstep, but I'm just saying, as you move towards it, you start to mimic them more and more. And we know that's true. Look at black men now. We're very vocal on First Amendment. We're very vocal on Second Amendment. More and more black men are considering themselves Republicans. More and more black men are considering themselves conservatives, conservative Republicans, Trump supporters. You get what I'm saying. So as you get to be closer and closer to majority, you start to mimic their behaviors. So all I'm saying is that they set up the blueprint for us. They've been doing this forever. Now, they haven't faced much criticism because up until recently, the white woman wasn't going to criticize them because the white man wasn't going to tolerate it. But now with liberal feminism out there, they'll criticize him. He'll still turn a deaf ear to her and brush her off and wave her down like she's a peasant. But the thing about it is, he's still going. He doesn't care what she thinks. He's still going. I've showed you a couple of videos, just like with that intersectional feminist who was attacking that guy because he had like an Asian bride or something, an Asian wife. But the reality is he doesn't care what she thinks. That's the bottom line. He just doesn't care. So all I'm saying is it's important never to let these people write your narrative for you, never to accept their premises. Admit nothing, make counter accusations. And that's basically that. If you get questioned, I'm pretty sure you can figure out ahead of time what you need to say. You can be as truthful as you want, but don't let them paint you into a box, because at the end of the day, you're a black man. You've got your money that you worked for and earned, and nobody has a right to tell you what you can and can't do with it. If you want to fly to Mars and get you a green woman, now, mind you, aliens, as far as we know, don't exist. But if you want to go to Mars, and just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you want to get a chick with 3 boobs, then that's your choice. It's like they don't have a right to tell you that you can't do that. That's it. So that's all I had to say. It's like, great interview. Auston did a great job on this interview. And he's the face. He's the face of the movement right now. So someday there'll be another face of the movement, but right now he's the face of the movement, and he did a good job on the interview. So questions, comments, criticisms, those can go in the URL section below.